Chop it down. Chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down. Chop it down. You gon' chop it down.
I just appreciate everybody
Damn,
watching. Man.
Watch him throw the ball. We gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Dive.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Welcome into another episode of the Trap or Dive podcast provided to you by 214 Media. You know who I am. I am your host, Molly Mall. Hen Dog Mall, Henny Mall, Jamal Forrest, all that good stuff, man. Welcome in to those that's here live, to those that are joining shortly, to those that will be listening or watching later. Man, I don't know. We done said it like 1,000 times already, right? This is the day. This is the week. Like, football is here, man, and we done said it 1,000 times, and we didn't tired ourselves out and probably tired the people around us talking about that football is back. Like, we get it. But guess what? We got more to talk about. Some final thoughts on the Jaguars and Commanders as we gear up for our pregame show. We got the dog matchup tonight, Bills and Rams. I can't wait for that one. First and foremost, that's something that I'm locked in tonight. I know everybody's probably locked in tonight, so I'm trying to figure out what I'm about to do. Do I need to give me a little something to drink on? Do I need to, you know what I'm saying, order some food? Do I need to do this thing heavy? I mean, I got work in the morning. So I don't know exactly how I'm going to handle this night, knowing that I got to get up at 4 o'clock. But at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, we are sitting here gearing up for another season of Washington football, another season of the NFL, but another or the first season of Commanders football. And I guess to kick things off as I'm sitting here waiting for everybody else to join up, I think my overall thoughts on the game, pace yourself. That's the plan today. I'm definitely I ain't about to do too much, man. I didn't learn my lessons over the past couple times. Geared up for first football game of the season or something like that. But as we get ready to and wait for Dre and AJ to come through, I think, you know, as the week went along, I've said from even before preseason started, I think that this game between the Jaguars and Commanders was going to be close. And I kind of still feel that way, but I also, like, as the week went along, I'm starting to think that it won't be as nerve-wracking or nail-biting as I thought. Like, I don't think it's going to come down to the wire type thing, if you understand. Like, I think that there'll be some trading of punches, but I'm not entirely too sure that it'll be as close. Like, I don't think Jacksonville will have as close of a shot that I had imagined. Like, I'm starting to get a feel for the Jacksonville Jaguars, hearing from the beat reporters and hearing from the people who cover that team daily. Like, I'm starting to understand what they're saying about their team, and I'm still very excited about the Jaguars. Like, from a football perspective, I'm still a fan of NFL, right? But I'm starting to understand that these guys, I think we have the edge, and I think it's actually going to be quite obvious. And I'll touch on that a little bit more as we move forward within the show. But first, let me go ahead and bring in 2/3 of the show. AJ is still on the way. Dre is checking in right now. Dre, how you feeling, big dog? How's everything going for you today?
Hey, I'm good, man. I was a little late because, you know what I'm saying, I had to get everything ready for this Thursday night football. I had to make my liquor store run. You know, I had to do everything I normally wouldn't do on a Thursday night. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm here
What
now.
you sipping on that? The makers tonight?
No, I got the Jim Beam Black. Yeah, we
Jim
rocking
Beam
with that.
Black. Okay.
Yeah, we doing the Jim Beam Black tonight. I ain't had a drink all week, so that's my first drink of the week.
Respect. You know what's crazy? I was looking at the playback of the Tuesday show, man, and I saw you sipping out a coffee mug. I was like, damn, that's not the typical. You don't drink out no coffee mug. Like when you drinking, you don't drink out no coffee mug, do you?
No, that was tea. So I like to,
okay.
I try to save my drinking usually for the weekends. I do it on the show on a weeknight, but normally I don't drink on the weeknight. So normally I would start it on a Friday, but like I said, because it's Thursday night football and we doing the show, hey, I'm gonna have me a little sip tonight.
I respect that, man. AJ, how you feeling, bro? What's the little LeBron drink that you was talking about? Where your drink at, man?
AJ ain't drinking.
I know, bro.
You muted.
Hold on, you on mute. Let's see.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
I said I'm not drinking yet, man. I probably won't even drink tonight, honestly, man. But yeah, hopefully some people got their elbows at the crib and taking a sip for me.
Hey, do me a favor before I forget. Matter of fact, I'm gonna text the chat now because I need to know the name of that joint so I can just try it one time next time I'm in the liquor store. I'm gonna just ask what's the just so I won't forget again. All right, bet. So, fellas, man, let's go ahead and get in our thoughts. We didn't talk Jaguars, Commanders for a good portion of the week, but we need to go ahead and put our final thoughts, put our final stamp on this game for the Trapper Dive side. I was starting off the show just giving my overall thoughts as the week moved along, and as I heard, the people that, or at least Tony, and then I had a chance to interview another guy that covers the Jaguars, Jordan DeLugo. And I'm starting to understand some things about the Jacksonville Jaguars. I guess before I go into detail on my side even further, let's go start with the over. As a matter of fact, I'm sorry. Let's go through the injury report and then get into our overall thoughts. So the injury report as of Thursday, we have a defensive lineman for Jacksonville, only one person on their injury report, and this individual, Foloronzo Fatukasi. That's a name. That's a hell of a name. I don't even know who that guy is. And now I don't think that's a good thing that I don't know who he is. But we have 7 individuals on the Commander side that's on the injury list. Cameron Curl, Cam Sims, Thomas. Oh my God. Logan Thomas, Cole Turner, John Bates, Fedarian Mathis, Trey Turner. Now we do have 3 individuals who practice in full Wednesday and Thursday. That's John Bates, Fedarian Mathis, Trey Turner, who Bates has a calf injury, Fedarian an ankle, and Trey Turner the quad that kept him out. Actually kept Trey and John respectively out the entire preseason. And then limited between Cam Sims, who has a concussion or recovering from a concussion, Logan Thomas, obviously his knee injury, and then Cole Turner, the hamstring injury. Those 3 were limited both Wednesday and Thursday. Then we have Cam Curl, who has been a DNP both days, Wednesday and Thursday. So we don't know. I think that's probably the wild card. Hearing people talk throughout the week on the Commanders side, they seem, now when they talk to these players, they get the idea that they're confident that Cam Curl is actually going to play Sunday. But at the end of the day, if you ain't practicing, I think he practiced, or maybe he warmed up today. I did see him on the practice field for sure. But I don't know if he was actually.
Heard he was on the side field.
Okay. All right. Okay. So he was on the side field today. So 2 DNPs for Cam Curl. I guess we'll see where that goes. But I think that's the one wild card, if anything. And maybe Cam Sims. But Cam Sims has been recovering for like a week and a half now. So we'll see. But that's what we have, fellas. That's what we have, our injury report. I'm going to give the floor to you all. Like I said, I had my thoughts, and I'll save them for after you all go. But what are your thoughts as we loom into the actual weekend about this game? What is your feeling, like your gut feel with this game? Is it still for AJ? Is it still Jacksonville winning? Dre, I think you said close game for Washington. Where are you all at? Does it still stand? And why is that?
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's going to be a really competitive game because it's still a lot of unknowns on actually both sides of the football. I know a lot of analysts are kind of picking Jacksonville to win this game, but Jacksonville still has a lot to prove, especially on the offensive side of the football. We know Trevor Lawrence is, very talented, #1 pick in the draft last year, but he also didn't have like a rookie season that you probably would have envisioned, but that's not all on him. Jacksonville was a mess last year. They dealt with the Urban Meyer crap. So, he was a highly touted prospect. So this is a guy you look to make improvement, but he still has to show it. They still have an unproven offensive line outside of Brandon Sheriff. I know Brandon Sheriff is the big signing for them. I mean, he's going to be stout where he's at, but there's 4 other guys on that line, and they gave up 32 sacks to Trevor Lawrence last year. So that's a problem of concern for Jacksonville. And maybe Washington can exploit that. That's somewhere where the Washington defense is going to have to attack them. But overall, and then the defensive side of the football, they made a lot of improvements. So they're going to be, a challenge for the Washington offense that, obviously has Carson Wentz starting the quarterback for the first game. So you just wonder what Jacksonville, in Washington, like I said, it's a lot of unknowns. So for me, I do think it's going to be a close game.
Yeah, you up, AJ? I wasn't gonna say nothing.
I guess it's not some audio issues or whatever, but yeah, man. I think with Jacksonville, they definitely have some pieces that can make this a very close game. Like Dre said with Trevor Lawrence, we kind of really don't know what we have seen in Trevor Lawrence due to the fact that he was being coached under Urban Meyer and that staff. I think with Doug Peterson being a former NFL quarterback himself, even though it was primarily as a backup, and then you add in the mix of him being, a successful NFL head coach in his tenureship, I think that, they're not going to look like the previous Jacksonville Jaguars that we're accustomed to. I think that'll make for a great game overall. And I think with both of these offenses, we have no clue what to expect. Defensively, we kind of got an understanding of what to expect out of Washington, but when it comes to Jacksonville, we also don't know, necessarily how aggressive Jacksonville's defense is going to be. As I stated in our show Tuesday, Mike Caldwell, their defensive coordinator, is, going to run a similar style to Todd Bowles. And I think I seen Maul post something earlier today that touched on how Mike Caldwell said pretty much fear Terry McLaurin. So they're not going to have anybody shadowing him. And what Maul said is pretty accurate. A lot of people across the league don't really fear Terry McLaurin, and a lot has to do with, the connection of the quarterback that he plays with. So maybe that might change with Carson if he gets to pushing the ball downfield early in this game. That could change their defensive philosophy.
Actually, before you go, Jamal, I wanted to touch on what AJ said, because it's a great point. We've all kind of touched on this for a while with Terry McLaurin, and how defensive coordinators view him. And I just wanted to say, for this season, especially, this is the time where you'll know for sure if Terry McLaurin is a #1 receiver or not, because obviously you have talent, at the other receiver positions. Curtis Samuel should be healthy this year. Jahan Dotson, you have him. And then you supposedly have a quarterback that's supposed to be able to, fit these guys' strengths. So now Terry should be elevated. Obviously, people still have their reservations about Carson Wentz and what he is or what he isn't. But even still, this is the best quarterback that Terry McLaurin has played in the pro football. That's not that bar is not high, but it's still a fact that this will be the best quarterback that he's played with in the NFL. So now this is the time you want to see Terry take that step up. And he just got the contract, so we paid him handsomely, and now it's time for him to put up the numbers and maybe look like the #1 receiver that a lot of Washington fans think he is. And maybe he will start getting that respect around the league.
Do you think that, and now this may be a blanket question and rightfully so, or obviously so, but you're asking the right questions, Dre. And I guess I would ask you, do you lean to the fact that you think that Terry is actually going to be able to do it, or are you not, or do you think he won't be able to do it, or are you not sure? And the reason why I ask this is mainly about the perception of Terry, and it's not that Terry is a bad receiver. Let's go ahead and get out the way, right? Terry isn't a bad receiver. He's not close to being a bad receiver. I think sometimes, like, you know how when you hype up a player or you understand a player for who he is given his circumstances, but you because of those circumstances, it may cloud your ability to understand if he's truly maxed out his skill set. And I'm trying to get to the point of, like, we understand that he has to elevate his game to the next level, or he's expected to, because of, you know, what he's done to this point, and then the money adds on. It just naturally adds on the pressure for him to elevate even further. Is he a guy that you all think is capable of elevating his game even further? Because I mean, obviously quarterback play is important, but ultimately, if you're a top tier receiver, a top 10 elite-ish in that category, top 8 elite, whatever, however you want to put it, you would expect the numbers as well as the production to show that he is that type of guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Terry has the ability to be that top guy. It's just the quarterbacks that he's had to play with, unfortunately, don't necessarily play to his strengths. One of his strengths is his speed. If he can get the opportunity to, you know, be a part of those dial-up plays down the field where Carson can't stretch the field, it opens up so much more even for Curtis and Jahad Dotson, whoever's playing tight end, and even the running game. Once they start making those threats to go downfield and using Terry in those positions, now you also have the flexibility of being able to slide him into the slot and get him more creative with the other guys. I think he has all the capabilities of making those plays downfield. We just have not seen that within the play calling, nor have we seen that with the quarterback that he's had the unfortunate access to in Taylor Heineke and so on. So they can make that a part of his game early on in the season, then it will dictate how defenses have to defend him, because we already know he can eat in between the numbers. When it comes to outside the numbers, he can eat there too, but not probably more than 20 plus yards due to the quarterback play. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping that, you know, Scott Turner also gets him more involved in the game plan sooner than later, how he's typically been doing with him as well.
And I agree with AJ too. And as far as how he's used is important. But now you're going to see, I mean, we as fans, a lot of the fans have kind of thought for years that, okay, Terry's the best offensive player on the team. He's getting paid attention to. Like everyone, defensive coordinators are really paying attention to it. And to an extent they were, but not to the extent that fans thought they were, where, maybe some people think he's getting triple teamed or, he's getting safety coverage over top every time, which wasn't the case. But now it's a situation where defensive coordinators are telling you that we're not going to shadow Terry. Yeah, we respect his ability, but we're not going to shadow him. Now, Terry, I mean, he has all of the ability. I think he's a top 15 wide receiver personally. I think he's in that top 15 cusp. Yeah. So, I mean, obviously he's a very good NFL receiver, but now, being as though Terry, I think he's the type of player that will probably take that as motivation, even though it wasn't a disrespectful thing to say. But Terry is, now he has to say, okay, you're putting it out there that you're not shadowing me. So this means I have to go out with a chip on my shoulder because I have to show you, maybe I do want you guys. I want that respect. I want that type of respect in this league. So that's how you want Terry to take that. But you look at, and it's going to be true. Like, regardless of what we thought as fans before, they may not pay as much attention to Terry as they have in the past, even if they haven't like shadowed him and stuff in the past. But now you have other receivers. You have a guy, Jahan Dotson, who some people think might have the most potential out of the wide receiver group on the team. So if Jahan Dotson, let's say he does live up to expectations in his rookie year. I mean, we're not going to say he's going to blow expectations out, but let's say Jahan Dotson is looking like what they thought he was going to look like in training camp. That means that Terry is going to have less attention over there, and Terry should be able to start putting up some numbers. I mean, I don't know. I mean, not, and the numbers doesn't tell the complete story, but how the impact he has on the game. We want to see Terry have more of an impact on the game, and we should be able to see that if you think Carson is the quarterback to, take him to that next level. And like I said, I don't care about the numbers per se, but we want to see the impact that Terry has on the game, and maybe defensive coordinators will say, hey, we got a problem on both sides of the field. We got to, focus on these guys more. So, I mean, that's what you want to see with Terry this year.
Hog is checking in. What's going on, Hog? Jay checking in. We can't know if he's maxed out until he has decent quarterback play. We've been using T-Mac like a possession receiver instead of a game breaker. Other than Haskins, he's played with nothing but noodle arm quarterbacks. Terry is a 1B or an elite number 2. Hawk checked in as well, talking about preseason left a lot of questions that Washington needs to answer, and it's a pivotal year for the staff. Now, fellas, as we talked about Terry, I think one of the things as we talk about the offense, Washington's offense, in preparation for Jacksonville, I think there's quite a few things that is going to be interesting. Obviously, we know that they bulked up, the Jacksonville Jaguars did, within their front seven. That 3-4 that Todd Bowles typically runs is he's emulating it, is the word, emulating it with the big bodies up front. And I think if anything, there's going to be a tough time trying to run the football. But I think one of the more important things that we talk about with this game is, at the end of the day, you still have to try and run it. You still have to try and establish the run. And I don't think just because you're going up against a potentially good run defense, because we don't know. And I'm not even using stats off of last year. I'm not even about to do that. And when we're talking about this game, I think the most important thing is if they're bulking up and if they may try to present challenges in run offense, I just think it's important to stay ahead of the sticks. And specifically meaning when Antonio Gibson gets his carries. Now, there was this one play against the Kansas City Chiefs in preseason where it was actually the first drive that knocked us back on that second down call, where he lost a yard or two. It wasn't even on Antonio Gibson. It was more about the execution. They had a linebacker from the second level shoot free right on the side through I think it was an outside zone, and got the tackle for a loss. But at the end of the day, the whole conversation about Antonio Gibson is how sometimes he doesn't really keep you ahead of the sticks, ahead of schedule. And while that's not an example about how it's on him, he just happened to be carrying the football. So I think one of the more important things when we talk about how Jacksonville is bulked up in that front seven, they need to find a way to establish the running. Obviously, Antonio Gibson, while I think personally that they should try to work Jonathan Williams and J.D. McKissick in between the tackles as well, Antonio's still going to probably get the majority of the carries, which is perfectly fine given that Brian Robinson is out. That's your next explosive player in a sense. It's going to be interesting to see how they manipulate or try to work this front seven of the Jacksonville Jaguars, who has seemingly gotten better up front.
Yeah, I mean, I was actually just looking over Jacksonville's front seven. I mean, that they really wanted to upgrade that defense. I know last year they were upset because they didn't make a lot of plays, whether that be sacks, interceptions. Jacksonville just weren't making a lot of plays on defense. So you go out and you upgrade the hell out of the front seven. You drag Trayvon Walker with the number 1 pick. You signed a linebacker from the Falcons. I'm not going to even attempt to say his name, but I mean, he's a decent linebacker. He came from the Falcons. And they also drafted Devin Lloyd in the first round, who was a guy. If we didn't draft Jamin Davis last year, I would have been really high on Washington drafting this guy in the first round this year. I think he's going to be a stud at linebacker. And they also drafted another one of my guys that I wanted to draft in the second round, Chad Muma. So, I mean, they really upgraded the hell out of that front seven. But it's also going to be another one of those unknown things with Jacksonville. Like, how much better are these guys going to be this year? Now, I do think that they may start out showing at least that they're going to be good against the run right away. So that may be an obstacle for Washington, especially without Brian Robinson. I mean, they seemed like they had a plan, and the plan was going to be that Brian Robinson was going to be that bruiser and thumper that they needed, and Antonio Gibson was going to be able to be used more in space. Now, we don't know how they plan on using Antonio Gibson going forward. With Brian Robinson being injured, we don't know if Antonio Gibson is going to go back to being like a lead back role, or if they're going to have, more so Jonathan Williams take those inside carries over Antonio Gibson. So that's yet to be seen. But I do think that may be an obstacle for Washington with this Jacksonville defense, because they have upgraded their front seven, and that's probably the biggest area of concern for me. Even though I am confident in the Washington offensive line, I mean, I like Matt Sco, the coach. I mean, he seems like he can coach anybody up, but still, Jacksonville has a lot of talent in their front seven, especially a lot of young talent. But again, it's unknown how early and how good and early they will be.
Now that's part of it though too. Before AJ goes, and that's also for those that were here in the beginning when I talked about my thoughts. Part of it leaned with that youth. Like, sure, we have a young team, but Jacksonville is even younger, and they have a good coach, but they have a rookie defensive coach. Like, they have a rookie defensive coordinator, and I think these things, especially in that front seven, you'll find ways to manipulate as we get to like outside of just the run game by itself, but. You'll find ways to manipulate these younger guys perceivably. Like, this is part of the problem when we talk about Scott Turner. Like, the pressure is on him. I shouldn't even say problem, but this is what we're pressing for. Like, the problem is pressure on him to really step out of the shell now that you have your pieces in place. And I think for you to take advantage, like when people say the game within the game, like you have to find your mismatches. You have to find people that you can exploit. And I think if you can find a way to manipulate these edge guys in this 3-4 with these younger guys and Trayvon, and while Josh Allen is in his fourth year, you still have some younger guys in the middle of the defense as well. So you have to find a way to manipulate these guys and make sure you get your lighter boxes, or maybe even get play action behind them on that second level. But yeah, I think it's very important. And you talked about it, Dre, the youth, the youthfulness, but also the fact that they do have rookies on that side of the ball from a coaching standpoint and player personnel standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dre touched on great points as far as their youthfulness. That means typically when teams have a lot of youth on their defense, especially, you're facing a fast defense, and that's exactly what Jacksonville has. Whether it be coming from the outside pass rushers, and even internally, they have a front that they're bigger guys, but they're athletic guys. Then you add in, the fact in the middle at linebacker, you're bringing in a Devin Lloyd and a Chad Muma, two linebackers that a lot of people within this fan base actually wanted for Washington to add to the mix. And that secondary, I mean, they're not the greatest secondary, but they have some playmakers back there. One guy who I expect to have a bigger season and more people will know about is Andre Sisco. He came out of Syracuse last year. He's a ball hawk and free safety. Then you have Shaquille Griffin, who played at Seattle, so this is not unfamiliar territory for him. He's probably going to see a lot of coverage with, Terry, even though they're saying they're not going to shadow him. Really haven't seen Scott Turner move Terry around that much. So pretty much he'll be on the same side as Terry throughout the game. That's where I think it'll be interesting. I mean, you definitely know that Jacksonville's going into this weekend, and especially if I'm still seeing rain in the forecast. I don't know exactly when that's supposed to happen, but either way, Jacksonville defense is definitely going to be punching at that ball whenever Gibson's in there running in between the tackles. So, he may downplay it and make it seem like that's not a big concern for him. But in actuality, every team going forward now is going to be punching towards that ball every Sunday that they play them. And those guys especially have probably been working on that preparation-wise this week to do that even more. So it is up to Scott Turner to get, creative with how he utilizes Jihad Dotson, Terry McLaurin, even Gibson, whether, he does some jet sweeps and McKissick. Do we see some two-back formations with McKissick and Gibson in the backfield? You now have the quarterback. A lot of people last year tried to make the excuse for Scott Turner and the lack of his creativity with play calling was, oh, he doesn't have a quarterback. Taylor Heineke has a noodle arm. Well, you got Carson Wentz, and that boy, one thing I will give him kudos on, he has an arm. He has a cannon. Like, he can throw the ball. I don't agree with the decisions he makes, but he also is athletic as well. He can get out the pocket. So are you going to utilize him in those ways for him not to just sit in the pocket and feel like a statue? Because those are the deficiencies within his game. So I think really a lot of this offense boils down to the marriage between Carson Wentz and Scott Turner, and that's why they have decided to tell Scott that he has to be on the sideline this season instead of being up in the booth.
Well, and AJ, I mean, you brought a good point up about Scott Turner, and it's something that a lot of people have been mentioning.
I know, Dre. Keep giving me kudos. I like it.
I mean, but I'm gonna go in a little bit different direction here. I mean, as far as Scott Turner and what he needs to do, this upcoming season, I think a lot of people are looking at Carson Wentz's arm and saying, okay, we're going to open up and we're going to have a downfield passing attack, which I think that's going to happen, but I don't think it's going to be as prevalent or as big in this offense as a lot of people think. I think we're going to see a huge amount of a short passing game, like one of those, a lot of bubble screens, just to get the playmakers balls in their hands, because we have a lot of guys that are really good with the ball in their hand. Curtis Samuel, J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson. So I think you're going to see a lot of that to help Carson Wentz out. At least that's what I think Scott Turner should focus on. I think, versus focusing on saying, oh, we need to go downfield. That's cool. We should take our shots when we can. But I think a lot of this offense needs to be just getting the playmakers the ball in their hands. So whether that's a short passing game, whether that's the jet sweep game, a lot of that. But we need to get the guys like Curtis Samuel involved, J.D. McKissick, Antonio Gibson. All of those guys need the ball in their hand because they can make big plays with the ball in their hand. I think you're going to see a lot of that this upcoming season.
But see, Dre, that's the thing that scares me about Wentz. It's cool if it's a bubble screen, a halfback screen, a wide receiver screen, but that short game is where he does not see the field well. He does not read coverages that well.
Well, check downs.
So I feel like if you can get those plays downfield and get them completed, it forces the defense to have to respect that. And you do have three speedsters at wide receiver that's going to be playing the X and so on within the
interchangeable.
Yeah. So it's like those are all speedsters. Anyone can go downfield and make those plays. If they can successfully complete at least one of those or two of those per game, it forces the defense to play them much differently, and it allows you to get into that intermediate game a little bit more as far as like the screens and things of that nature. But last thing I really want to see is Carson Wentz trying to throw in between fucking linebackers, dog. Like, that's the last thing I want to see, because I've seen that enough, and most of the times the placement of the ball is not good. Like, it is not good at all. So I'm just hoping not to see any pick sixes on Sunday.
Yeah, let's go ahead and catch up on some of the comments right quick before we transition. Hawk mentioned, doesn't that make our offense a little predictable when we're running the ball? Gibbs got the man up and hold on to the football. I wish I remembered what part of the conversation I was on. I would assume is when we mentioned Gibson actually being the majority ball carrier, I would imagine, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't really remember, Hawk. Just remind me. Jay mentioned PA is going to be big for his play action. Young speed means over pursuing. Sure. I think that's true too. So you can kind of get the sideline to sideline game flowing. And I guess we'll see where that goes. If Turner has that in his bag, we'll find out. Armani asked this: have you all discussed how people are rating Wentz below some horrible QBs? Specifically, I've seen it. I really, to be honest with you, Armani, I don't even pay. I really don't pay that no mind. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I want people to understand. I thought about how I reacted to AJ's comments when we asked him where did he rate Carson Wentz, and I honestly didn't have a problem with where he rated him until he got to the number 32. When he said 20 to 32 is what threw me off. I can understand anyone rating him bottom half of the league, but I can also understand, like, I feel like he fits somewhere between the 16 and 24 range. But when you saw that 30 number from that data company or 40 number, whatever number he was at. I don't know. It's something where it's like you really shouldn't pay no attention to it personally. And then I haven't, like, this is the first time I'm really giving it attention right now.
Even 27 was ridiculous, I thought, for Carson Wentz. I thought
mean,
that was ridiculous.
I think a lot of that has to do with what type of system are you running and who do you like? You know, for me, like I said, 20 to 32, it just sounds realistic because I just really don't care for him as a quarterback. I feel like he has all of the intangibles. There's a reason why he went number 2 overall, but you know, at the same token, I've seen enough of him. Maybe I need to see a little bit more of some other guys, and maybe that's how they did the rankings too. I don't remember the list off the top of my head.
One was strictly data driven. I don't know the 27 one. Drake, you can help me out with the 27 one, but I know the 34th one was strictly data. They didn't rate them. They had Mr. Trubisky 12th or something like that. So
I think that same one had Kirk Cousins 9. Kirk Cousins was top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah. So it's just that's the thing with numbers. Like, you can use it as a asset, but you can't just strictly rely on it. Like, if you're just going based off of data, like, I mean, I'm not taking Mr. Trubisky because I think I've seen that list and it was like Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson were after Mr. Trubisky. Like, get the fuck out of here, bro.
Exactly. And that's Armani. I know you was about to say something, Dre. I'll be quick. Armani, that's exactly why I was like, I wouldn't even get that list of time of day or the one that rated him 27th, even though I'm sure that's probably more a personal opinion. But I don't pay attention to that stuff, bro.
I didn't actually have anything to say, but since, you know, it's on me, I just wanted to thank Amani because Amani sent me a magazine I've been wanting for a while. So thank you, Amani. I finally got it today. Yeah, I checked the mail. I don't check the mail often. I checked it today and it was there. Thank you, Amani. You're a good dude, man. You've been my boy for years.
There we go, man. Shout out to Armani, bro. He always been a good guy. As far as I know, you know him a little bit longer than me. But let's go ahead and get into the defense. Matter of fact, I'm sorry. Do we have any closing thoughts on the offense? We talked about Scott. We talked about, obviously, Antonio Gibson and just the ground game and how Scott Turner is responsible for that to some degree. And we talked about Terry, too, to start things off. I think Terry, this is a very good game to really establish himself in the league in 2022 as better than where people project him and perceive him heading into the league. So I'll give the floor to you all. Are there any other keys on the offensive side that really interest you and see what Washington could possibly take advantage of?
I mean, for me, I think I just want to see how the offensive line plays, as this would be the first time the entire group would be having reps on the field together. I'm also curious to see how that tight end position plays out, if they plan on doing a rotation. This is Logan Thomas' first game back from an ACL. He won't be in football shape. He already isn't the most agile guy anyways. Now you add into the fact, you know, coming off a torn ACL, I'm just curious to see if they force themselves to give him as many snaps, also giving John Bates a lot of snaps and maybe not using, you know, some of the other guys that could possibly stretch the field a bit more and take advantage of that defense. So those are the things. And of course, you know, with Scott Turner now being on the sideline, I want to see if there's really a difference with him being able to talk to the players directly on the sideline versus last year being up in the booth. Because I feel like last year he didn't really take heed to who Terry McLaurin is as a playmaker enough. I feel like he didn't really strategize getting him open. And, you know, with that just being Terry alone and now adding another weapon in Jahad Dotson, it's like, how will you utilize all these pieces together, including Curtis Samuel?
Yeah, for me, I want to see them. I want to see how they get, like, as I mentioned earlier, I want to see how they get the playmakers the ball in their hands. Like, I want to see what Scott Turner's plan is for these guys because, you know, as fans, we sit back and we look at these guys, we're naming them and we're saying, oh, man, we got a lot of playmakers. We got a lot of talent on offense this year. And we feel like this is the first year in a long time this has been the case. So Scott Turner has been a guy who, you know, 2 years in, the story, we don't have the full story on Scott Turner. I mean, we can say, yeah, he's not creative or he hasn't done this or the offense hasn't done that, but he also has had, no real QB in the league since he's been here and all of that. And maybe limited weapons. I mean, when him and Ron Rivera came in, this was a 3-13 roster. So I mean, you got a 3-13 type of talent for the most part. So you have to rebuild. You have to put your own stamp on this team. And now year 3, you have this stamp. Most of these guys here, they're Ron's guys, or they're people that Ron and his staff has brought in, especially on offense. And now Scott Turner has some tools. So you have Curtis Samuel healthy for the first time. You have Jahan Dotson. So what is Scott Turner's plan to get the ball in these guys' hands? And are any of these guys going to be prioritized? Like, you want to see Terry take that next level. You want to see Jahan, be the rookie that you drafted in the first round. You want to see Curtis Samuel live up to the contract that you signed him up to. And then there's J.D. McKissick. There's Antonio Gibson, who we've been talking about for years. This is a guy, Antonio Gibson, that we want to see break out. We want to see him in space. So it's important for me watching this game, because I think this is going to be a precursor to the season. Like, while I say preseason doesn't matter, preseason doesn't mean anything, I do think that this first regular season game will be a precursor of things to come. So I'm looking to see how he gets these playmakers the ball in their hands. And I don't care how he does it, but I do want to see them utilize that and attack Jacksonville's weaknesses. And I do think one of the Jacksonville weaknesses in the defense will be that secondary. I don't think the secondary is bad, but I think it's a point of emphasis that they can use to attack. So I want to see them use those weapons that they have at receiver and see how they can get them the ball and attack them.
Last thing I'll say, because you all hit the nail on the head. We need to find a way to get some explosive plays out there offensively. Explosive plays, but also converting on the plus side of the field. That's been a bugaboo for us ever since I think we've been under Ron Rivera. And it's not just him, but just generally under his tenure, his regime. Offensively, you struggled converting on the plus side of the field. And last year, it was really bad and very annoying. In the preseason this year, again, you don't necessarily worry about outcomes, but you do want to see performance metrics in certain situations. And that's reflective on how you're coached and how you're prepared in critical situations in practice. You didn't really see much execution and sustainability on the plus side of the field in terms of drives, sustaining drives. So I need Washington, when they're on that plus side of the field, if you don't come away, if you're on the plus side of the field 7 times and you don't come away with at least 2 or 3 touchdowns, and I'm being nice. I really would say like 3 touchdowns out of that, and maybe a couple other field goals. Obviously, you want points on all drives, then we have a problem. We may have a problem. So that's what I'll say on the plus side of the field. Obviously, red zone, like, that's always important. So I didn't need to speak on that. Defensively, I think I'll start the ball with this one. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm 100% confident in this goddamn defense to stop Trevor Lawrence. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm 100% confident in his defense to really completely shut down this offense. I think that Doug Peterson and his RPO scheme is effective and efficient for a reason. Excuse me. And he's had certain quarterbacks like a profile that gets the job done, and Trevor Lawrence fits that profile to a T. I need to just see opportunistic defense. I need to see them create turnovers and get off the field on third down. I know those are blanket statements, but I think it holds true to a younger offense and a younger team, because if you're able to get on them early and consistently get on them throughout the game and understand that, it's going to be a long day, I think that can mentally disrupt the team and let them know that, I like what we had going on in training camp. I like what we had going on in preseason. This all season was amazing, but god damn, like, who are we up against right now? And I think those type of mindsets are important, especially for a team that is having that opportunity against an opponent, like perceived opponent like Jacksonville at home. You have an opportunity to start off 1-0. You really have to create turnovers and get off the field on third down and kill these drives before you keep giving them random strokes of momentum and good feeling mentally that they can really compete in the game. You have to thwart it and dead it early.
Hey Mo, before you go into the next topic, I wanted to respond to Hawk, who I just read in the comments. He said, preseason matters, fellas. 30 plus years of ineptitude and preseason matters. Hawk, I know you've probably been a fan for a while as well as me. I want to take you back to 2002 when Steve Spurrier led the Washington Redskins to a 4-1 preseason record. Not only were they 4-1 in preseason, they were blowing everybody out in preseason. They were killing dudes. And we thought that we were going to have a season to remember, and that was just the beginning of the end for Steve Spurrier. I mean, he was a horrible coach here. We had a horrible season. And that's one of the reasons why I just don't think preseason really matters much, because you can sit there and lose all your games and then look decent in the season. You can win all your games and look horrible in the season. It's just a matter of just getting guys, getting their shape up, getting them used to game reps and, full quarters of play, but results and how they play too much is not necessarily a precursor on how the season goes.
Oh yeah, we're on the defense. So yeah, the floor is yours. Mine was about opportunities, taking advantage of the opportunities that will be presented, because you're not, if you go a whole game without getting close to sniffing a turnover or even getting sacks. Obviously, Sweat and Allen comes into play. Those are my main two disruptors defensively on that defensive line. If you go a whole game without creating or even getting close to a turnover, that's even a more significant problem. But from the plus side and positive side of thinking, they're going to have to find a way to shut these guys down early and make sure that they don't think that they have a chance to compete on that side of the football.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see Washington be aggressive defensively. And like you said, Maul, they got to create some turnovers. At the end of the day, most of the top tier defenses in this league create turnovers per game. And if you're not, making game playing changes, making game playing like
game changing plays.
Yeah, I'm tripping.
Hey, look, I do it all the time, bro. It is what it
is. Yeah, if you're not making those type of moves during the course of the game, you just out there playing ball, and the offense is getting what they want, and being able to take advantage of that. So you definitely need to be able to create some fumbles, interceptions, something to put the offense in a shorter field position, because that's one of the things you want to see out of this team, whether it be the cornerbacks getting a pick, or one of the D ends or D tackle getting the strip sack, and especially going against a quarterback going into his sophomore season and a new system in just year two. You should be able to take advantage of those hiccups and him learning a new system.
No, and for me, on the defensive side of the football, one position group I'm actually really looking at in this game to be the key is the defensive line. And it's for reasons I mentioned earlier when talking about the Jacksonville offense. I think if it's one spot to attack on the Jacksonville offense, is their offensive line. I mean, that's one of the biggest question marks outside of Brandon Scherf, who obviously they signed. I do think they have a decent left tackle. But other than that, like I said, Trevor Lawrence got sacked 32 times last year. So he got sacked a high amount. And we got a defensive line, even without Chase Young, you still have, one of the better defensive lines in the NFL with Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. So you expect these guys to kind of show up this, be at least the stalwart for the defense. Like, this is the group that's going to get this defense ignited and get this defense going this week. And they have the matchup, I believe, to exploit in this game to set the tone. So you want to see them, those guys get off to a good start, and especially after last year. I mean, you just fired Sam Mills III this offseason, and you put Jeff Zanonia as the lead defensive line coach.
You mean in preseason?
Well, yeah, preseason. Yes, the weird timing, but it happened, preseason. And then Ryan Kerrigan's now the assistant DL coach. But so you made all these changes because you're saying, okay, obviously, if you fire Sam Mills, you're saying there's some kind of disconnect between him and the coaching and the players. Now you got who you want up there. So now this is supposed to be the bread and butter of the defense. This is the position group that we put so many assets in. We've drafted, we put money into these guys. Now And we're also saying, hey, we fired this one guy. You all should be able to do this. So now you want this defensive line to kind of be, like I said, the stalwart for the defense. These are the guys that probably should be setting the tone and dictating how these games are going to go. So that's the one matchup position I'm looking at to say this is where we're going to win this game. We're going to win this game in the trenches. I know it sounds cliche, but especially in this case, I believe this is where Washington has to exploit and win this game.
I don't disagree. I've said this a couple times this week. I think that this game comes down to trench play on both sides of the football. Like if you can dominate or at least win, I wouldn't even say dominate, but just if you can win and control the line of scrimmage for majority of the game, I think you're in good shape if you're Washington. I think the biggest thing with Doug Peterson, and this number, like Doug Peterson runs 12 personnel at a league high in 2020, per Sports Info Solutions. He's ran 12 personnel, one running back, 2 tight end sets, at a league high 35% in his last time he coached, in obviously 2020. But he passed out of that 64% of those plays. And obviously when you run 12 personnel, it can be indicative. See, I do it too, AJ, of what you can really do from that formation. And there's some teams who actually they don't run it as much as Doug Peterson, but they run out of it even at a higher percent, like close to 50% of the time. But my point about Doug Peterson and actually controlling the line of scrimmage, they're not just because he passed it 64 times in one season, in that one particular season. I think if you can establish some type of ground game with Travis Etienne and James Robinson, it's not, if you can control it, you're going to keep doing it. And I think that's the most important thing is when you have those opportunities where you're in those obvious run situations, you got to shut it down. And I think it's not always about the look itself from the personnel standpoint, but ultimately when you have those obvious run situations where you know that you have to eliminate. I mean, it's going to be hard with Trevor Lawrence. That's actually what I was going to get into. It's going to be hard because it's all 11 people that's capable of he's that 11th person that you got to worry about. He's not just an immobile quarterback. But again, when you talk about controlling the line of scrimmage, you make it difficult. And I think if you're not able to do anything up front, or if you are on the edge with James Smith-Williams, Montez Sweat getting fooled on these keepers or these run pass options or whatever it is, read options, excuse me, you're gonna be on for a long day too, because they're not looking to really. I don't think that they're looking to. And Jay mentioned this. He thinks that it's gonna be an up-tempo game. I think it's gonna be the opposite. I think that they're just trying to control the clock and make sure that they play mistake-free football. And if you can't control the line of scrimmage and eliminate these opportunities that they're trying to get these 3 to 4 yard rushes and convert the sticks and move the sticks and stuff like that, you're going to be in trouble. And it's going to be interesting because Trevor Lawrence, and this is where I was getting at while I was rambling, I think that his mobility is going to create some problems for Washington's defense. And fellas, what do you all think about the notion from Cole, who mentioned this on Tuesday? And I saw him say it again today on Twitter. Is he the best player, or does he have the potential to be the best player on the field this upcoming Sunday, week 1, when he's on the field?
Who?
Trevor Lawrence.
You I said no. I said AJ got some reservations, man. When he make that face.
I can't. Yeah, I mean, I can't say that, like, because at the end of the day, that's the interesting thing about this game Sunday, right? We don't know what we're getting from either side of the ball. I mean, primarily you can say you know what you're getting from Washington's defense because we've seen it. It's pretty much the same exact roster. It's a replica of last year. Just take away Chase Young being out there for 13, 14 weeks, but it's literally the same team. And now you have less depth at D tackle, and you have less depth at cornerback. And I guess also you're missing Landon Collins too. So you got a lot of guys doing new things to them. Like prime example, Ben St. Juice, not really accustomed to playing slot. Like he has the agility to do so, and the skill set to do so. But playing the slot is one of the harder positions on that football field in general. It's already hard playing cornerback. Now you got the slot position, open field, and if I'm not mistaken, probably Jacksonville is going to use Christian Kirk and damn, what's the other wide receiver? Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones and Zay Jones for that matter.
Yeah, they're going to use Marvin Jones probably in the slot too. So those are guys that are familiar with being in that position. I don't think there's going to be any elite player on Sunday because, like I said, we don't know what we're going to get out of Wentz. We don't know what we're going to get out of Trevor. But I feel like the one person that could be the elite player, and you could be like, well, two of them, I'll say, you could be like, damn, that motherfucker is really good, is Terry McLaurin and Montez Sweat.
And I mean, to that point, it's kind of like deja vu in a sense. I mentioned this before in the show in that facing Trevor Lawrence this year is kind of similar to facing Herbert last year for the Chargers. Except I think the difference is when you face those guys, Herbert showed tremendous flashes in his rookie year. He didn't have the hype that Trevor Lawrence had coming out of Clemson. Like Trevor Lawrence had the biggest hype probably of any quarterback prospects is Andrew Luck. But Justin Herbert actually was the exact opposite. He was really good. People thought he might be a number one pick at some point, but then his last year at Oregon, people were down on him. So no one was talking about him as a top pick, but he showed tremendous flashes, and we were his first opponent that week. And I was actually fearing going into that week playing against the Chargers, to go against Justin Herbert because I saw what he could do his rookie year. Trevor Lawrence never really had any of those type of flashes that Herbert had in his rookie year. And that's not to say Trevor Lawrence was all bad or he just wasn't good. He just didn't show you, or he didn't show any of us that he was this big time upcoming elite quarterback in the league. But we still have to respect and think that way just because of what he was coming out of Clemson, and he was the number one pick. And we also have to consider the circumstances he played in Jacksonville last year. Like I said, the whole Urban Meyer situation was a mess. No one was going to probably succeed in that culture that Urban Meyer had created in just that short time being there in Jacksonville. But Trevor Lawrence still has all the talent in the world. So that's the biggest unknown, I think, coming into this game is what is Trevor Lawrence in year two? Is he taking a major leap that we kind of didn't see in year one with those flashes? So that's the thing with Trevor Lawrence. I don't know if he has the potential to. I do know that he has the potential to be the best player on the field if he is the guy that they thought he was, drafted at number one last year. But I don't know if we've seen enough to say that he is that guy yet, or he will be that guy this coming Sunday.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for score predictions. If you're in the chat, talk to us. What's your final score? Who will be the game's MVP? Fellas, let's get up out of here with that one. I'm going to go ahead and go first, get my final score and my game MVP. Again, like I started off this show, man, I initially said that I've said for some time that I thought this game was going to be close. And I've said that, I think that the number of 4.5, it was going to go maybe come down to the wire. Like obviously they're going to trade punches and things like that. And the more information that I get about this team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and understanding the position that we're in, I actually think that it's still going to be a close game, but I just don't think that it's going to come down to the wire like I initially thought that it would. I think that they'll probably trade some punches here and there, but ultimately I think Washington may be in a situation where they can kind of control the game, just from a standpoint of like not necessarily going through the nail biter. And with that being said, I do, like I said, I see a close game, just not a nail biter in the game type of thing. So maybe like 26 to 20, 26 24. I'll be more specific and stand on the number. I'm gonna say 24-20, and I'm gonna say Washington wins. Maybe Jacksonville scores at the end to cut the 11-point lead down to 4. If my math is right. I hope my math is right. Yeah, I think my math is right. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Game MVP is gonna be let's get this thing off on the right foot, man. I'm gonna say Montez Sweat.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and make my prediction. I think that Washington wins a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I hope it's a blowout, obviously, as a fan. But I mean, I right now, and I had this score around 27-21 Washington. I think they cover because they are right now, they're 2.5-point favorites in this game this Sunday. Yeah. So I think they cover 27-21. And I'm going with my MVP of the game. I think Jahan Dotson is going to be the hidden secret. I think they're going to unleash him this week, and I think he's going to probably have a welcome to the NFL type of moment where people are going to start noticing Jahan Dotson. So he's my game MVP this week.
Yeah, I think Sunday is pretty much two teams in similar situations playing against one another. Rosters kind of replicate. Hold on. Yeah, rosters pretty much kind of like replicate one another. But I have I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning 24-17. I think the MVP on Jacksonville's end will be Trayvon Walker. I think him, against those tackles and Cosme and also Lucas, he's going to make a big impact and getting after Carson Wentz, and Washington will still have like somebody making an impact on the game, and I agree with Marlon. I think it will be Montez Sweat.
All right, so Amani has 30-23 Washington. MVP is Wentz. Jay Tyler, 28-21 Commanders. We are going to put some serious pressure on Lawrence. There it is, fellas. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps it up for this episode of the Trap or Die Podcast. Y'all know what time it is, man. The game is about to start up, man. We gotta celebrate, man. The season is back, and then
y'all got winning tonight.
I actually put money on the Rams tonight because they were 2.5-point underdogs. And I do think the Bills going to be a great team this year, but I also think people are underestimating what the Rams can do first game. They get in their rings. I don't know. I think it works like the NBA, but they get their rings on the winning night or the opening night, and they're at home. So I do think they're going to come out fired up, and I think they're going to beat the Bills tonight.
Yeah, I'm a little biased. I do think the Rams are probably capable, but from a standpoint of picking the spread, I blindly I didn't put no real money down yet. I'm still contemplating it, but I definitely took the Bills. I was like, that's my team, bro, in the AFC. So I was like, fuck it, put the money on Bills, man. I'm taking that 2.5. So yeah, that's where I'm at.
I mean, I think it would be an overall great matchup. I just think that I think that defense of the Bills is so tough, but they don't have Tre'Davious White, so that's the only thing that's making me a little.
Oh, he's still recovering.
Yeah, he's out. Damn. So I'm just curious to see how Cooper Kupp and especially Allen Robinson get utilized within Sean McVay's offense. But at the same token, man, Bills' defensive front was already nasty. Now you add Von Miller to the mix. And Leslie Frazier is a hell of a game planner and defensive coordinator. So I just think that they get after Matt Stafford. And he also has a messed up elbow, too, so he's recovering from. So I think the Bills end up winning tonight.
Hey, man, me and AJ on the same side. I love to hear.
That's fine.
Yeah, you the lone wolf, man. Let me hear the wolf cry.
It's like,
Go ahead. Get your
all right, man. Hey, that's it for us. The fellas will be back on Sunday, man.
To recap back, man.
Yes, sir. To recap the Jacksonville Jaguars and Washington Commanders game. Hopefully we talking about a dub here, but you know what time it is, man. You never know with these Commanders. Fingers crossed things go well.
AJ want that L. He want that.
AJ is hilarious,
want
bro.
eat that L, man.
Hey, nah, no bullshit. With that being said, man, we out of here. Y'all be safe. Enjoy y'all weekend. We back on Sunday, man. Peace. Boom.